Hello, my name is Joe, and welcome to my channel. First of all, you guys, I just want to say thank you so much to those of you who watched my last video, which was kind of a part 1 to this one, kinda. I think we got some really good discussion going on in the comments, so I really appreciate that. Anyway, as I left off in the last video, despite me having a fair few problems with how Oscar has been handled, he does have a good base character and a really interesting story. He honestly has the makings of someone who might have been my favorite character in the show. In fact, he probably would have been if he was the main character of the series. And I still truly believe this is the case. Now, bear with me as I paint a picture of how RWBY, with Oscar as a protagonist, might have started, and the trajectory it could have gone down. I think the series might have started out with a cold open of Ozpin's final battle against Cinder, like we got in the Volume 3 finale, and probably moving her dialogue toward him from the beginning of the fight to the end of it, before she, ends him. Smash cut to Oscar waking up in a sweat like he did in the first episode of Volume 4, and continue with the scene as it was. From there, the first couple of episodes would probably follow most of Volume 4's story, getting all of Oscar's scenes in there, probably adding in a bit more exposition, as well as introducing a traveling group of teenagers known as Team Ranger, and following much of their early Volume 4 story, hinting at the tragic fall of Beacon, to be explained later. We'd follow this team till about where they would normally encounter Tyrion, and instead have the group meet up with Oscar much earlier. As the series would go on, they would follow the story of getting the relics and trying to stop Salem, etc., etc., and they would gather friends and allies along the way, such as members of RWBY's previous team and her ever-drunk uncle, Crow. But the biggest focus of the series would be on the relationship between Oscar and Oz, what the merging of two souls actually means for a person, and the question of who Oscar would be after the process completes. Now, while obviously it never could have gone like this, because that wasn't the concept of the show when Monty created it, and I by no means think that it would have been better than what we actually have, having Oscar as the primary focal point from the very beginning would largely address the three main issues I talked about in my previous video. While his personality would still be a bit more bland to start with than that of the other characters, it wouldn't be as glaring of an issue since the audience wouldn't have grown attached to the more wacky Beacon-era personalities like in the main show, and Oscar's personality could begin to showcase itself a bit more. And character development happening off-screen, probably wouldn't be a problem, because Oscar would be the one we're following most of the time. While his relationship with RWBY would still be... having less characters that need focus early on, Oscar could get a chance to interact with the others more, getting more of a reaction to Nora immediately adopting him, planting the seeds of Jean's resentment towards Ozpin, and how that affects his relationship with Oscar, and Oscar going to Ren as his sole beacon of normalness compared to the more loud personalities of the others. We'd also possibly see more of the Oscar we see in Volume 8, allowing him to become more of a forward and charismatic figure now that the role of inspiring leader doesn't have to fall solely on RWBY. And arguably the most important part, Ozpin. With a much larger focus on Oscar and him, we'd get to delve a lot more into what the merge actually means for both characters. And even more important than that, there would be a lot more question as to whether the merge would actually happen. Having Oscar be a main character, but not the main character, means that there is a little doubt in my mind that he won't actually merge with Oz in the end. He'll just end up being cured in some way and Oz moving on to the Afterlife. I addressed this in my last video. But if this idea was arguably the most important concept in the entire series, the emotional center of the show, the result becomes much less clear and a lot more intriguing. Will Oscar find a way to escape his fate in the end? Or will he lose himself in Oz's memories? Will he accept his destiny, or keep fighting for his individuality until the very end? It would become something a little like Kurama from Naruto. Even if you're somewhat confident that they wouldn't kill off the title character, there are still times when you wonder, is Naruto actually going to give in to the demon? Will he be able to control himself? With Oscar in this hypothetical situation, it could shift depending on how the show would end. A happy ending where Oz is freed and allowed to move on? A melancholy one where the curse is broken, but not before Oscar completely merges and he has to complete his life as both himself and Oz? Even a heartbreaking one where Oscar dies in the final confrontation with Salem wouldn't be off the table. And that uncertainty makes the narrative more compelling. Now, some of you might say, but Joe, couldn't we just have more focus on Oscar in the show going forward and achieve similar results? Well, yes, but actually no. Beyond some damage already being done, such as with his off-screen development, I realized while writing this what I think Oscar's issue really boils down to. He has a great story that doesn't fit in an ensemble cast. The thing that has always held RWBY back in my eyes has been time constraints. And I don't mean in a production timeline, well, that too, but I mean in the show's actual runtime. A standard season of television will usually have between 22 to 26 episodes at 22 minutes each. If we take the median of 24 and do the math, the runtime turns out to be more than double that of RWBY Volume 8, the show's most consistent volume thus far. And with how large the cast is, each individual member is only going to get so much screen time. My concept for an Oscar-driven version of this show remedied this by stripping the early cast down to a more standard 5-man band format, as well as an even smaller DC-style trinity of more honed-in focus, only adding cast members as time went on. As much as I would love for RWBY to go all the way to Volume 15, it seems more likely at this point for them to end after 12, though I could hopefully be wrong. But if I'm right and we only go to Volume 12, we have 4 volumes left. While Oscar is most likely going to get more focus going forward, I just don't think it will be enough. Volume 9 is most likely to have little to no Oscar in it, and after that, he has to share time with Nora's continued development, the mystery of Summer Rose, Ruby's further development, which I feel she has really just started in Volume 8, all the new characters we're likely to meet in Vacuo, including the Final Maiden, and the continued search for the relics. I'm just not confident there's enough time to dedicate toward Oscar and the Merge to really make it as compelling as it could have been. And even if the writers focused almost solely on him, people would probably get angry. You know, like they do when John is allowed to do pretty much anything, making him steal other characters' screen time, as I've seen put it many times. And, you know, that's really too bad. The story of Ozma's curse is probably one of my favorite stories presented in the whole show. It's interesting, it's tragic, and it raises really interesting questions about what makes someone who they are. The problem is, it's just too grand of a story to fit in a show with an ensemble cast. And paired together with Oscar, who had too small of a personality and was introduced too late for me to get as attached to him as I might have, as well as a show with other stories that take emotional precedence over this one, it makes for an overall character that I just find pretty meh, if I'm being honest. This is, of course, all just my opinion. If you really like Oscar, or have Oscar as your favorite character, I totally get it. If you, really like Rose Garden, I still respect you, just not your taste in ships. Oh god, I'm gonna get ripped apart in the comments section for my Rose Garden slander, aren't I? Hey, Joe here. Just before the outro, I just wanted to say thank you guys again for watching these last two videos. It's my first time doing more of a discussion style thing than an actual theory, so I hope you guys did enjoy. I'm looking forward to what I'm going to be doing next. I have another genre theory in the pipeline, which is my most popular videos, so hopefully you guys will like that. And I have a fun idea I'm planning to do. It's just kind of neat, and I like it, so I hope you'll enjoy it too. Okay, back to the outro. But hey, those are just my thoughts. What do you think? Agree? Disagree? Think my idea for RWBY with Oscar as the protagonist is a neat concept? Let me know in the comments down below. And, subscribe. I'm trying to do a video every week or two, so you might find something you like. Till next time, safe journeys, my friends.